What equipment does a man need to become a comedian?
Well, again, it still gets back to that old thing that it occurs to you one day that you want to be a comedian because you're funny, and if you are one of the chosen few who were born with the ability to do it, then you can do it. Then you can become. When we're talking about comedians in the sense you're talking about them, I'm talking about the ones that go all the way.
Right. Because
the business is full of comics that make a good living and deserve to be comedians, and they do a nice job, but those aren't the real artists of the business.
Right. What advice would you give to a young comedian just starting out?
Probably there's not too much you could say other than don't make the mistake of falling into the material trap. I mean, when assessing your position as a comedian, you should think of it in terms of you as a funny person, because to the degree that you're a funny person, that's how much you'll succeed, not to the degree of the funny material that you have. When I first became a comedian, I thought, gee, I'll write funny material. I'll bet that I could get up on a nightclub floor and just read this to people, and they would laugh at it. And I tried that. I got up in the village, and I'd take the sheets of paper out, and I would read it. Because as a writer, I could go into a room with people, comedians I was writing for, and I could say, listen, I wrote this, and read it off the paper, and they'd break up. And I would try that on the nightclub floor, and it meant nothing to audiences. What they want is something else entirely. They want an intimacy with the person. They want to like the person and find the person funny as a human being.
Book is to make a contribution for the comedians who may be coming up 25 or 50 years from now. Is there anything special that you've ever wanted to say, that you wanted to say for posterity, or any thought that you've ever had that you felt that you wanted to expound on in closing?
Well, I was once asked on an interview, what is funny? And at the time I said, if a man falls down, slips and falls, and the audience laughs, it's funny. If they don't laugh, it's not funny. And that really sums up how I feel about it. It's so ephemeral and such a thin line of luck and intangibles that there's no real advice. Nobody reading this book is going to be able to, based on what they read there, become a comedian. I mean, the whole thing is rare combination of heredity and environment and the audience that night and the temperature and the headlines in the papers. And
you use the word luck a great deal. You've used it in our interview. Is there anything you can do to help to push your luck, to move it,
Yes. If you are a person, say like Jerry Lewis, who was just born gifted, or Danny Kaye or Sid Caesar, then you get into the area of really disciplining yourself, and you'll get a comedian who does have a great deal of talent and doesn't discipline himself, and he makes some contribution because his natural gifts let him. But then you get the Chaplin, who really discipline. He'll develop. He'll really work hard and develop, and then it gets to a different.
When
story.
you say discipline, do you mean waking up and doing a specific amount of hours of work each day, or what exactly?
Yeah, hard work. Real hard work. I mean, writing material for yourself, not believing your press notices, whether they're good or bad. Constantly doing new things, constantly moving into new areas. Being a comedian, and then experimenting with different styles of material, and then trying to not just be a successful weekly television hack, but moving into movies, trying to appear on Broadway, accepting new projects, constantly risking everything, without ever thinking about the money, or without ever thinking about how this is going to hurt or build your career, but just thinking about your work.